Welcome to The Explainer. So you're building some amazing hardware, right? But then comes the part that's, well, a massive headache for almost everyone, creating a really good user interface. Today, we're going to break down a tool that claims it can fix this, bridging that huge gap between beefy desktop apps and those tiny embedded devices. I mean, think about it. Every single hardware project, whether it's a little gadget you're tinkering with at home or a serious professional instrument, it eventually hits the exact same wall. How does a person, actually use the thing? And the answer, of course, is a GUI, a graphical user interface. But, oh man, that's usually where the real challenge begins. And here's why it's such a pain. Building a GUI for a desktop app, that's one world. You've got tons of CPU power, loads of RAM, a standard OS. But building one for an embedded device, that's a completely different universe. You're suddenly working with limited resources, maybe a real-time OS or just bare metal, and totally specialized tool chains. Seriously, it's like you're expected to be a master of two completely separate crafts that have almost nothing in common. So this is the exact problem that EEZ Studio is trying to solve. What if you could bridge that massive chasm? What if there was a single, unified tool for the job? I mean, just imagine, what if you didn't have to be an expert in two totally different worlds just to get your project across the finish line? Okay, so let's get into the core promise here. What exactly is EEZ Studio? Well, it's a cross-platform open-source tool with a really bold idea, letting you create GUIs for both those big desktop systems and those tiny little microcontrollers, all from one place using one consistent workflow. All right, let's walk through how this actually works. The journey, as always, starts with creating a new project. And right from this first step, you start to see just how flexible and powerful this thing really is. See, right away, you're not locked into one way of doing things. You get to choose. You want to build a big desktop dashboard? Go for it. Need an embedded app? You can use the native EEZ-GUI framework. Or you can tap into the super popular LVGL library. And for anyone who hasn't used it, LVGL is this fantastic open source graphics library for embedded stuff. But here's the kicker. You can also choose to supercharge it with visual programming. And trust me, we are definitely getting to that in a bit. Okay, project set up. Now for the fun part, actually building the interface. The whole idea here is to get you away from writing tons of code. Instead, you work visually, using this whole library of pre-built components they call widgets. And honestly, the best way to think about this is like, they're digital Legos for your GUI. It's all about visual construction. You're not sitting there painstakingly coding every little pixel of a button. Nope, you just grab the block you need and you snap it right into place. And that toolbox, it is absolutely packed. You've got all your basic stuff, right? Labels, buttons, you name it. Then you have containers to organize everything. Grids, lists, tabs. Then there's a whole bunch of input controls like sliders and checkboxes, and my favorite part, the visualizers. Charts, gauges, progress bars. It's everything you need to build a really rich functional interface. And putting it all together is just ridiculously simple. It's a three-step dance. You select a widget from the palette, you drag it onto your page, and then you just position it. There are these smart snap lines that pop up and guide you so you get everything lined up perfectly. No more fiddling around for ages trying to get that pixel-perfect alignment. It just works. All right, so a beautiful interface is awesome, but let's be honest, it's just a pretty picture until it actually does something. We need to add the logic. So how do you make it intelligent? How do you, bring it to life without getting bogged down in code? Yeah, how do you actually make it functional? Like, what happens when someone clicks that button you just dropped in? Or what do you do when data starts streaming in from a sensor? This is the exact spot where a lot of these visual builders just fall flat. But EEZ Studio has a really, really clever answer. And that answer is called EEZ Flow. Basically, it's a visual, flowchart-based way to program the logic of your app. You can think of it like the nervous system connecting all your visual components. It's what makes everything talk to each other and react. The whole process is just so intuitive. You literally just connect outputs to inputs. So, for example, you take the pressed event from a button, and you draw a line from that to the input of something else to define the flow of execution. That something else is called an action, and it could be anything. Maybe it reads a sensor, or updates a chart, or sends a command to another device. You are literally drawing your program's logic using this huge library of built-in actions. And this is really the heart of the whole low-code approach here. These actions cover everything from basic loops and logic all the way up to complex communication protocols. And when I say a huge library, I mean it. Just look at the categories. You have your basic logic, stuff for controlling the GUI itself, but then you get into the really powerful stuff. Instrument control with protocols like SCPI and Modbus, all sorts of communication from serial to TCP/IP and MQTT, and even file and data handling like parsing JSON. The really crucial thing to get here is that having all of this ready to go out of the box in one visual environment, that is a massive time saver. So at this point, you've built your UI, you've wired up the logic with EEZ Flow, you've got a working prototype. But now we need to talk about the final touches, the things that take it from just working to being a truly polished professional application. And styles are a huge part of that professional polish. Sure, you can make a quick one-off change to a single widget style, but the real power comes from using project styles. This is where you define a reusable style, say, for all your primary buttons. Then, if you decide you want to change the color of all those buttons, you don't hunt them down one by one, you just change the project style once and bam, everything updates automatically. For any project bigger than a toy, this is an absolute game changer. The studio is also really smart about handling assets like fonts. It actually adapts how it works depending on the kind of project you're building. So if you're making a native EEZ UI project, you get this really fine-grained control over exactly which characters to generate from your font files. But if you're using LVGL, it doesn't try to reinvent the wheel. It just hooks directly into LVGL's own optimized font converter. The point is, you're always using the best, most efficient method for your target platform without having to think too much about it. And check this out. If you're building an application that needs to be used around the world, it has built-in support for multiple languages. We're talking a full-on text management system that can import and export the industry-standard XLIFF format. That basically means you can hand a file off to a professional translator, get it back, and load it right in. This is a seriously professional feature that you'd usually have to pay big bucks for in other tools. So when you put all of this together, what do you get? You get one studio, one consistent visual workflow that lets you build everything from desktop dashboards to GUIs on tiny embedded devices. It's taking a whole bunch of tasks that used to require completely different tools and different skill sets and unifying them. It's all about saving you time and letting you get back to focusing on what you love, the hardware. You know, by bringing this powerful, visual, low-code approach to both the desktop and the embedded world, EEZ Studio is really making a pretty bold statement. And it leaves us with a really big question to think about. Is this kind of unified visual approach the future? Not just for rapid prototyping, but for final production-ready GUIs. Could this be the thing that finally makes building great interfaces accessible to every hardware creator out there?